When you think about therapy for depression, we often picture looking backward, right? Kind of digging deep into the past to find the root of the problem. But what if the key wasn't actually in the past, but in the future? Well, today, we're going to dive into a really powerful and hopeful approach that does exactly that. It's called solution-focused therapy. And just to understand why new approaches like this are so important, you've got to grasp the scale of this. This is not a small issue. I mean, check this out. The World Health Organization estimates that over 280 million people around the world are living with depression. That number, well, it just shows how absolutely vital it is to have effective, empowering tools for support. And let's be super clear. Depression is so much more than just feeling sad. It's this persistent condition of extreme hopelessness or emptiness that can make it fundamentally hard to just function. It completely drains your motivation and can make even the simplest things feel like climbing a mountain. Okay, so to really get why solution-focused therapy is such a big deal, we first have to look at what it's up against. The common symptoms of depression that create that feeling of being completely and utterly stuck. Yeah, these symptoms, they kind of feed into each other, creating this really tough cycle. The nonstop sadness leads to a loss of interest in things you used to love. Then that messes with your basic routines, like eating and sleeping, which then just feeds right back into feelings of worthlessness. It's such a heavy weight to carry. And usually, this is where therapy starts, right? With this question. And look, it's a totally valid question. It's aimed at understanding the causes, the history, the why behind all the pain. It often means analyzing past events, traumas, and those negative thought patterns. But solution-focused therapy, or SFT for short, it does something pretty radical. It proposes a major pivot. It suggests that, yeah, understanding the past is one way to go, but focusing on the future can actually be a more direct route to feeling better. And it all kicks off simply by changing the question. This slide really breaks down the core difference perfectly. On one hand, you've got traditional problem talk, which is all about analyzing what's wrong. But SFT uses what it calls solution talk. Now, it doesn't ignore the problem, but it intentionally shifts the entire conversation toward the future you'd prefer, exploring the strengths and possibilities you already have. And this question? This is the absolute heart of that shift. Instead of asking, why are you depressed? The script gets flipped. It becomes this forward-looking exploration. Just reframing it like this invites you to build a mental picture of your goal. A life where the problem doesn't have all the power. It's about creating a destination you can actually move towards. So how does SFT actually make this happen? I mean, it's not just wishful thinking. It uses a specific set of conversational tools, all designed to uncover your strengths and build a real pathway to that better future. Let's break down a couple of the most powerful ones. Okay, this one is probably the most famous tool in the SFT box. It's called the miracle question, and it's designed to help you bypass that stuck feeling by asking you to describe in detail what a day without depression would look like. What's the very first thing you'd notice? Who else would see a change in you? Suddenly, hope isn't just a vague idea. It's specific and tangible. All right, next up we have exception seeking. You know how depression can feel like it's just everything all the time? Well, there are almost always moments, even tiny little ones, when its grip isn't quite as tight. This question helps you hunt for those exceptions. By figuring out what was different in those moments, you start to uncover strategies and resources you didn't even know you had. Then there's the scaling question, which is brilliant because it makes progress feel so much less overwhelming. So imagine you say your mood is a 3 out of 10. Here's the genius part. Asking what makes it a 3 and not a 2 actually makes you recognize what you're already doing to cope. Then, thinking about what it would take to get to a 4, it just breaks down getting better into one tiny, manageable next step. Now, I know these techniques might sound simple, but they are incredibly powerful, especially when depression just saps all your motivation and makes the future feel, well, bleak. So let's get into why this whole approach actually works so well. You can see the big differences lead out right here. While traditional therapy often goes deep into the past and can be a long-term thing, SFT is all about the future, and it's usually pretty brief, often just 5 to 8 sessions. And this is a huge deal. Look at the client's role. You are seen as the expert on your own life. The therapist isn't some authority figure with all the answers. They're more like a collaborator. So all of this leads to some major strengths. Because it focuses on what you're already doing right, it directly fights that feeling of helplessness that comes with depression. Focusing on small, achievable goals makes change feel possible. And it's efficient, which is perfect when your motivation is just gone. Plus, because it avoids a lot of labels, it can feel way less stigmatizing. This question, it's the perfect example of SFT in action. I mean, on a really bad day, just getting out of bed is a huge win, right? Instead of just moving past it, a solution-focused approach actually stops and asks how you managed to do that, recognizing the strength and effort that it took. It reinforces your own capability and helps you build momentum from those small wins. And what's so great is that this way of thinking isn't just for a therapist's office. You can actually start using these forward-looking, strengths-based ideas in your own life, like today. So here are 4 really practical things inspired by SFT that you can try for yourself. And you'll notice they are all small. They're all doable. The goal is not to magically be happy. Instead, just try to find one exception. Acknowledge the effort it took just to get dressed. Or just think about one tiny thing that could move your day one single point up on that 1 to 10 scale. And really, that's the big takeaway here. What solution-focused therapy really shows us is that you don't have to wait for some giant breakthrough to start feeling better. The path forward is built one small, intentional step at a time. And it's about celebrating the strength it takes to make every single one of them. So, I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Remember, this isn't about fixing everything all at once. It's just about finding that one next step. What's one small, manageable thing you can do that moves you just a little bit closer to the future you want to see?